Hey, I'm Ricky Jauregui. I'm a writer, director, and actor, and I will be performing part of a monologue from Don Juan by Moliere. What? Would you have a man bind himself to the first girl he falls in love with? To say farewell to the world for her sake and have no eyes for anyone else? It's a fine thing, to be sure, to pride oneself upon the false honor of being faithful, to lose oneself in one passion forever, and to be blind from our youth, up to all the other beautiful women who captivate our gaze. No. Constancy is a share of fools. Every beautiful woman has a right to charm us, and the privilege of having been the first to be loved should not deprive others of just pretensions to which the whole sex has over our hearts. But as for me, beauty delights me wherever I meet with it, and I am easily overcome by the gentle violence to which it hurries us along. It matters not if I'm already engaged, for the love I have for a fair one cannot make me unjust towards the others. My eyes are always open to merit, and I pay the homage and the tribute nature claims. Whatever may have taken place before, I cannot refuse my love for any of the lovely women behold. As soon as an handsome face asks it of me, if I had 10,000 hearts, I would give them all away.
Oh yeah, it's time, brother.
August 11th, Foo Fighters concert.
What's up, guys? Annabelle here. You're watching Silo Talk. Today, we have my brother in the house. He is a filmmaker. Please help me welcome the great Ricky Jauregui. Yeah.
It's just nice having a crowd, just having all those.
I know, all the thousands in front of us cheering you on, brother. That was a great song selection, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, every guest I ask them, what's your vibe? What do you want to listen to? What's your intro? I guess you're a big Foo Fighter fan, huh?
100%.
Hell yeah. Have you ever been to a concert?
Dude, August 11th, I'm going to my first
really?
Foo Fighters concert.
Yeah,
I wasn't kidding. I was being serious, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I've been wanting to see them for years. I got super sad when Taylor Hawkins passed away. May he rest in peace. But yeah, dude. Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters have kind of been like, I don't know, my spirit animal since middle school. When you finally
Were you like a big Nirvana fan as well? And then
no,
went to the Foo Fighters? Or you just didn't even know that he was the drummer for Nirvana? You just liked the Foo Fighters?
No, so I liked the Foo Fighters and I knew that he was the drummer for Nirvana.
Yeah.
It's just, when middle school finally, when your frontal lobe starts to just pop a little bit and then you finally start getting a little bit of a personality.
Yeah.
Foo Fighters was the thing I gravitated to. And then, one of the first few songs I learned how to play on guitar was Everlong.
That's awesome.
And then Chop Suey as well. So
hell yeah. Well, hey man, this show is about art and artists. So that fits perfectly to what we're going to be talking about. So first off, I want to thank you for coming down to the Coin Academy here in Pasadena. Where are you coming from, by the way? I don't even know how far you drove.
Dude, I drove from La Habra, California.
Oh, you're not that far away then.
No, just, over the hill, up the...
Yeah, well, thank you again for coming down, brother. I didn't meet you not too long ago. It's probably been like a couple of weeks, months that I met you through our acting coach, Alex Alfaro. I want to give a huge shout out to Alex Alfaro and the whole team over there at No Fronts Actors Workshop, Chola Vision. They're doing some amazing work. And congratulations, by the way. I went to the opening show for, what is it? The
Last Days of Judas Iscariot.
Last Day of Judas Iscariot. Great play. And I just told you before we hit record that your character of Sigmund Freud was one of my favorite characters in the play, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It took a while for that accent, I'll tell you that much. 100%.
That's awesome, man. So let's get into it. I really like to get down to understanding why people do what they do. Right. Because I am a storyteller just like you. And in order for me to tell a story, I need to know why. Why does this person do that? Why did they make those decisions? And, the path of the artist to me is a path of a hero. It's the hero's journey because not many people want to take that path. And a lot of them they hear it, but they don't do it. They just live their normal life. They never express their art in any way. And I think, to me, art is therapy. You know, like I said, what you can't say, you'll dance, you'll sing, you'll paint, you'll act. Whatever your chosen art form is, it's a form of therapy to help you express yourself, you know? So how long have you been in the entertainment world, and what was the catalyst that made you decide that, hey, this is something I want to do. I want to be a filmmaker?
Entertainment world, I guess we're going to have to start with when the talent started coming in. So if we're going to be super technical about it, I would say middle school when I started band.
Okay.
Since I was like super small, dude, I've been like playing around with like Dragon Ball action figures and stuff and just doing like my own stories. It was like a little annoying for like my older brothers because they would like look at me and be like, what the hell are you doing? And I take like 3 hours.
What was the storyline for like a kid? Now I'm curious. What was your storyline with the Dragon Ball character?
Oh man, I used to do crossovers with like Power Rangers and like Dragon Ball figures and stuff. So I'd have it like Frieza comes in and then like he's with Rita Repulsa like as an action figure and stuff, and they're like teaming up, and so you have like Red Ranger and Green Ranger like talking to Goku and Vegeta and stuff.
That's funny.
You know, I would even do like the whole like voices and be like, "Oh, Kakarot, you can't," you know, or
you would do it out
these
loud.
Humans be like that. Yeah, no, I would do the whole thing.
You were like acting it out and stuff.
I was directing like since before I even knew that you can direct.
That's funny because I did something similar, but everything was in my head. I never like said it out loud. You know,
I mean, I had the comfort of my own room, so that's what kind of helped. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of that. And then I guess once middle school kicked in, had my friend Will, he was playing guitar since he was like 5. And then I was just like, oh, you know, middle school, I got to try to do something. And so I joined band, being a bass clarinetist.
Okay.
For a year.
Yeah.
And I did well. And then came the next year and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do trumpet. And then the teacher kicked me out of trumpet and just like, you're just going to do percussion.
Yeah.
So I did percussion. So it wasn't even like on a drum set, but it was actually doing like crash cymbals and, you know, all the other fun stuff. And then I was playing bass at the same time. And then I had gotten my first guitar.
Yeah.
So it ended up being that I learned like time signature and all that stuff in band, but like teaching myself how to play guitar and bass was at home.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of, you know, back in the day, ultimate guitar tabs, and you would just pull up the tabs to your favorite songs. And then, yeah.
I think that's how I learned how to play the guitar, so through tabs, because I never had any guitar. I've never had actually any music lessons in my life. I don't know how to read a music sheet, but I know music, which is kind of weird because I just learned it from guitar tabs, talking to other musicians, and then just picking it up. It's a language.
Yeah, 100%.
Once you understand it, and you just go. And the cool thing about art is that it's subjective. You know, like I was watching this experimental drummer that pisses me off, man, because he's just like making random noises, and he has like a crowd of people like cheering him on. I'm like, what is this? He's not even like, it's like
it's not tour.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So, you know, if you have something in you that you want to let out, you can let it out, you know? But for me, I like metal. That's like my style of guitar playing, you know? So I got really into that and I can play it pretty good.
Oh, well, yeah. No, you know, it's funny. I've like seen like your reels on Instagram of you like just shredding and stuff. I'm like, bro, I need to like play with them at some point. But I gotta like, cause I have my ups and down periods when it comes to like playing music. Like I'll have like a whole thing where I'm like locked in for like 2 months and I'm just at some point like a couple years ago I was doing covers of like Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think the one is on my Instagram where I like played like both guitar parts and a bass part, and then I just recently got my electric drum set last year.
Oh, nice.
So you're
a one-man band, brother.
Yeah, I have a recording of Mariana Cross by Ghost.
Yeah.
I even did the makeup and everything too. So I might post a video at some point in time, but I think as soon as I like get the drum part in, then I'll go ahead and do it.
That's funny. You're like a cover band, but like all in one.
And by myself, you know? Digital
and
cover band.
You're going to do a music video, you're going to edit it, you're going to direct it, you're going to write it, and you're going to perform it.
I did the lighting for it.
There
and everything
you go,
too.
brother.
It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
funny.
So your first love was music.
Yeah.
When did you get into filmmaking and acting?
So filmmaking and acting, I think those were like they were already implanted from a very young age. I was very impressionable, super young as every other kid, but like the things that I got into were movies. I used to watch like a lot of movies with like my older brothers. My brothers are like 15 plus years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So they took me to go watch The Matrix and
awesome.
Blade and stuff. And they would say, it's like, dude, when you're a kid, you used to like put on the glasses like if you're a Neo and you're just in front and just dodging bullets and stuff.
That's funny.
And then from where I'm from, La Mirada, they didn't have any like theater programs or anything like that. So usually when I was on the playground, I was playing with my friends, they would like hang out with me because then we would just make up like scenarios and stuff.
Yeah.
Then once we figured out like Crossfire and all that, we were like throwing each other, you know, balls and stuff. But So it's been then. And then high school came along and I got introduced to a filmmaking class.
Okay, so this is your first time introduced to actual filmmaking.
Right.
In high school, what grade?
11th grade.
Oh man, my school didn't have any type of freaking, filmmaking courses and stuff like that. I would have definitely took one.
Yeah, they only had the one class. So while I think even before that class started, so I think I was in the transition of getting into that class for senior year. So my bad. I did my first video in 11th grade, and it was a music video for a parody of Usher's OMG called La Migra. I even wrote the lyrics and everything. It was just.
You remember at least the line?
Yeah, it's just the hook. Like, yeah. It's like, ay cabrón, yeah, muévela, y muévete beaners. I just have to, and then ay cabrón, come on, let's go hop it now.
Dude, you're like the Weird Al Yankovic for Chicanos, bro.
That was almost gonna happen had I continued that route, but I did not.
That's funny. Just, what's that one from Chingo Bling? He's like our, quote unquote Weird Al Yankovic for, I don't even think he's Mexican. I think something else, but for raza.
No, of course it's like representation, eh?
Yeah. And you're you said you're half Mexican and half
Ecuadorian.
Ecuadorian. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's cool. Who's who?
My dad is straight up from El Arenal, Jalisco, Mexico, and my mom is from Esmeraldas, Ecuador. So coastal province of Ecuador, northern coastal province.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
Yeah, you gotta have the fried bananas and fish, bro.
There you go. The little plantains, my favorite. Bro.
Oh man, those are the killer right there. To be honest,
yeah.
A little bit of coco, yeah.
There we go. There we go, brother. That's awesome. Yeah. So in high school, you take your first filmmaking class. Yeah. Did you take it serious from the beginning and knew, hey, I want to go to school to be a filmmaker and go to film school, or was it just something that kind of grew on you? What was the process there?
The process was actually supernatural. Not supernatural, but it was super natural. Yeah. So every time I did my projects, I took them super seriously. Like I would write scripts and we would do like 20-minute like short films, and then I'd be turning them in, and my teacher was like, dude, you gotta like, come on, like 5 minutes at least. Yeah. I'm like, dude, but I'm trying to do stuff.
You're doing like a Cleopatra.
Yeah. And I was
big 4-hour movies.
Yeah. And I was using like the Canon HVAC is what it's called. So the little camcorder and stuff. So I would like go in doing like close-ups and all this other stuff. Funny. And just like continuity. I was like, we're doing this again, guys. We're doing this again. Yeah. Pretty sure my friends like remember it, and they're like, dude, you're annoying. I'm like, it's all right. And I never thought of it past that. Yeah. But as I was doing it a lot more, my dad started to notice that I was leaning more towards the arts. I mean, he noticed it since from music, but like when he saw me doing filmmaking, then I'd be up editing till like 2 a.m. as a high schooler and stuff. He was always with me. He was very much like, hey, you have the capability of doing whatever you want.
So he was supportive.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. Because a lot of I would say most kids, when they express that they want to go into the arts, it's like a red flag for the parents, And the reason I see it is because they're afraid. Yeah. They're afraid of the it's a big old hole of the starving artist, Yeah. It's like, how are they going to make a living? And if they're pursuing this art thing where they're going to make no money, So I think the struggle of the artist is learning how to make a living from their art form, and that's like, I think that's the big hurdle that most artists have to go through. Yeah. And in today's age, though, we don't live back in the 50s and stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can make a living now. Before it was really, really, really a slim chance. Now you could do a bunch of different stuff too. You're not going to be rich.
No. You do a TikTok, just and then but there's $500. But
yeah, it's crazy. There's so many opportunities, But I want to go a little bit deeper into your path into filmmaking, because the way I look at it, we are human beings. We are Homo sapiens, and we are a highly evolved species of primate that seek patterns in things, and we want to understand, and we want to tell stories. We rather tell a story than not know something, So as far back as we've been around, we've been telling stories. Yeah. When we didn't know something, it made us afraid. And when it made us afraid, we wanted to figure it out. So we would say something, from the little paintings on the walls. We created gods, we created devils, we created everything in our thoughts, and from our environment. And I think art has progressed to the point now where I feel that cinema is the ultimate platform for art, because you can express all modalities in one place. Yeah. To me, my first artistic love was music just like you. So right now I am writing my first screenplay, and the score and the soundtrack to this film is as important as the words that are written on that screenplay.
Exactly.
You know, because without it, it's not going to tell my story. You can't tell my story without the sounds. I need a soundtrack. I need a score to be able to emote a feeling in people. You know, imagine you're seeing a movie and it's like a sad moment. There's like happy music playing in the background. It's gonna fuck everything up. You know, and then as far as like lighting, photography, it's photography in motion.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and then storytelling is emoting a feeling out of people. And to me, the best type of art is the art that changes you. It moves you to do something different. And I could think back to being a kid and watching certain movies that really changed my life, you know, made me think in a different way. And that's the type of stories that I like to see. And that's the type of stories I like to hear. And that's the type of stories that I want to share to the world. So for you, what is your philosophy when it comes to storytelling and filmmaking?
In a sense, it needs to be as human as it could possibly be. A lot of the scripts that I have written have always stemming from a central conflict that we individuals all experience, right?
Yeah.
I could even pull back to a script that I wrote way back when. It's called The Unfortunate Fortune of the Boy That Doesn't Exist. And the whole premise of that story is that there's a whole supernatural aspect to it, but it's supposed to be about a boy who was born into this world with half a soul. And the whole philosophy behind like how that world works is that everybody comes to the world with a complete soul, but there's times where you come in with a half soul because you're not supposed to be here, but you could always get another half of a soul from somebody else. And that somebody else could be anybody that has gone through any kind of trauma or that has been broken.
Yeah.
So,
I call those empaths.
Yeah.
You know?
So this individual has a hero's journey where he is supposed to grant his half of his soul to somebody that has a broken soul. And it's supposed to be this new girl that comes to school that had just come from a third world country and just literally experienced genocide. And he's guided by a guardian angel, or I call them the passerbys. And the passerby is guiding this individual to this person. And it's not necessarily a love story, but it's a love story in the sense of like from one human to the next.
Yeah.
Basically, it wraps up with it being that there's all these dark entities that are trying to get after her. And it's supposed to be like an analogy of somebody going through darkness and possibly killing themselves.
Yeah.
So he goes to save her through a sacrifice. And the sacrifice is that this chick is about to like run into traffic and get hit by a car. So he like pushes her out of the way. That whole action itself allowed her to have a complete soul because now she's complete with him.
Yeah.
But passerby, you find out that the passerby is supposed to be like the soulmate to the person that needs to give the soul, right? So then in the afterlife, the passerby gives her soul to the main character and he comes back.
I see.
Yeah. So it's just a whole bunch of like give and take of life, and then like dealing with like internal darkness and what it feels like to be alone. Because one of the attributes of being that unfortunate fortune that doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
The world doesn't see him unless it's convenient. So he could walk around and literally people will just pass by him. Nothing will happen. Only when important things need to happen, like if he needs to be fed, there's the cafeteria lady handing him the food. Outside of that, if he tries to have a conversation with the cafeteria lady, he just doesn't exist. He's like invisible.
Yeah.
So I written, just to explore about that too, because, it all comes off from experience. And I feel like those are the stories that I like.
Yeah. What's interesting is on this show, we talk a lot about mental health. Another shout out to our sponsor, Macabars, the leading psilocybin mushroom bar companies in the world. And right now there's a lot of research going into the benefits of psilocybin when it comes to mental health. And what I see a lot in the arts is that a lot of artists struggle with their mental health. With depression, anxiety, and trying to find all of these emotions and find a process to live, you know? For yourself, did you ever struggle with any of that?
On the daily? On the daily? Yeah, but I think I found out the source of it, really. Okay. And I think the source of it is if I'm confined to the mundane lifestyle of a 9 to 5 and everything else, because I'm not used to doing any of that. My family was raised into like, you know, working and doing like construction, doing all this stuff. My dad used to make like marble countertops and all that stuff. So like they've been freaking hauling ass like left and right for years. I was the only one that had the more artistic talent and went for it. So when it came to growing up and I was like working as a longshoreman for the ports of Long Beach, a casual longshoreman, I realized that like I was declining mentally because I was away from all the artistic stuff that I used to do. The only times I would have like my happy moments is if I like put on the headphones and you just hear me like singing like Mariah Carey, like, you know, just something that just.
Thought you were gonna say Foo Fighters, bro. You went to Mariah Carey?
No, bro. There's even times where I'm like singing like, not gonna lie, like Britney Spears, just for the fun of it.
I have a big palette too when it comes to music, but you know, Britney Spears is not in that palette, bro.
Oh no, it's all cool. Like I have music taste like up everywhere, man. There's times where I'm like singing like Promiscuous with like Timbaland and Nelly Furtado, and
there you go.
I'm just like, you know, it's just music. Like for me, like art is just art, and so the way that it just comes in, it's just like as long as it's like it's siphoning through me and it's like funneling through and all that stuff, then I feel a little bit better. And then it got like really bad last year because I just kind of like ended up being in a rut. It's a little bit better now, and being part of the acting program for No Fronts with Alex and Blanca. Just helped that because I had been away from like acting and all this other stuff, and I had no way to properly funnel. Like I could have done it myself, but like the pandemic and everything else just didn't help. And I had like conversations with Alex about it, about like that aspect, and just really like I started really working on myself by working on the craft, because I knew that it got better the more I was doing the acting work, and then the acting work into other things too.
So I just started taking the same acting. I did the one-on-one classes with Alex,
right?
And I realized after the first couple of lessons that it's like a form of therapy, you know, because to me what a good actor is vulnerable and authentic, you know? So it's not like when you go through your normal day, people will tell you, hey, how are you feeling? And I'll be like, I'm all right. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you? I'm doing great. Great. I'm a great day. You're not having a fucking great day. I'm having a shit day. I fucking hate my life right now. I'm going through a divorce. I lost my job. My dog died. My grandma died. I got COVID. I'm sick. My back's fucked up. Whatever your issues happening, you're not going to tell that to anybody, right? You're going to hold that in. But in acting, it gives you an opportunity to be vulnerable and authentic through a character. So any character that I play is me. It's not that. It's my emotions through that character. So I have like a huge feeling of catharsis whenever I go through certain emotions as a character. And I find that acting is giving me that ability. It's like a pressure valve. You know, you hold in this pressure and then you need, you let the pressure out. To me, art is that. It's releasing the pressure, letting go. And that's part of my artistic process, is completely letting go. When it's action and I'm supposed to be violent, I'm going to be the most violent I've ever been in my life. When it's action and my time is to be sad, you're going to see a sad motherfucker, because I am authentic to those emotions in that time. And that is part of my philosophy with my acting and everything that I do. And I'm curious in finding people's, process and their thoughts, because I want to understand people. And to me, I feel that artists want to be understood. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. That is what the beauty of filmmaking and storytelling does. You'll never know what it is like to be, you know, some kid in some different country that you've never been to. But if they make a really good movie about that, you're going to connect to it. Like, I get it. I understand, you know? So your film, you went to film school?
Yeah, so I went to community college at Fullerton College, and then I transferred over to Cal State Fullerton, and I took their film programs over there.
How was your experience? Because I've talked to a lot of people that have been to film school, and I get all kinds of different answers. Like, they say, don't go to film school, it's a waste of time. So people are like, oh, it's great, I learned this and that. Tell me a little bit about your experience and what kind of feedback you could give to maybe some aspiring filmmakers on some tips you would give them.
It kind of sucked. No, I'm kidding. But in actuality, it was a challenge. And I think it was a challenge for where I was going to film school. So it was in Orange County, obviously predominantly white and richer people are over there. So it was kind of hard unless I was like making friends in the same program, to really like try to like work my craft. But the counter to that is that it made me, you know, a lot more stronger in the sense that I had to really like push for what I was trying to do. So it's like, hey, you guys want to work on a project? It's like, nah, I'm going to go work on my YouTube cinematography flying over Huntington Beach. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to make this. I started noticing a lot more when I had transferred and I was taking like an intro to filmmaking class. And everybody in my class were kind of like assholes, dude.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad. Like,
was it like competition or was it pretentious?
They
like,
were
I'm better
definitely
than you?
pretentious of the fact.
I can see that.
Yeah, but a lot of it was just like they thought they did stuff that was like the shit, and then like I would go with the critique, and sometimes I'd be like, hey, by the way, did you know that you were shooting at 30 frames per second? And they're like, how could you even tell it's 30 frames per second? I'm like, bro, it looks a little too smooth for it to be 24.
Yeah.
Like I got to the point where I started like learning all these technical aspects of like camera, sound, and everything else.
Yeah.
That when it came to like school assignments and stuff, like we would be like, oh yeah, you guys can't do black and white. And I'd go to the professor, I'm like, could I do black and white? And he's like, do you even know how to color black and white? I'm like, dude, I took a photo class. Like you're supposed to just color everything exactly how you want it, and then you desaturate everything, and then it will be like the perfect black and white. It's not just throwing a fucking filter on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool, you're allowed to do it. I'm like, thanks. And I would do stuff like that, and just me experimenting a lot, with just doing projects with friends and just like doing this. And then shout out to my friend Eric Nguyen and Robert Rodriguez. Like we had been with each other from Fullerton College and stuff, and dude, we were like tackling like a lot of the film classes. We even did a filmmaking class with 16 millimeter film on a Bolex and an Arriflex. Oh wow, dude! Like we had that thing all fucking figured out. Like I was the loader, so like they'd be like, dude, switch the film, and I'd freaking do it in the dark without even looking. And then we like figured out the lighting and all that stuff. We got so good that like, by the time we went back to digital, like the digital cinematography was just like fucking off the charts.
Yeah,
because it's so precise with like film that one little fuck up and it's just like, oh shit. And then we also like learned how to do like pulling stops and pushing stops to make it darker, lighter, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, while I was taking my film class, I had decided to take an acting class at Cypress College. So I started off acting in 2014-ish, 2015. I started off with Jim Hormel, and that was like an intro to acting class. And then when they have the progressions, right, acting 2, acting 3, I was training under Mark Majarian. And so I was there. That was like super tough. I had to like leave the class at some point because I think I was just too young, and I was going through like a lot of like changes in my life because I had lost my dad at 17, and then trying to figure out how to be an adult without like having like a man to kind of like guide
a father
you
figure to guide you and support you.
Right. Because I was like, shoot, you're supposed to be with me until you were like old as fuck. Now it's just like it didn't happen. So just figuring that out, and it just got to the point where like I stopped acting. But I had my best friend, Steve Lopez, who was still in that class, and he had met Alex at that time.
Alex Alfaro?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I think he had done like a digital play and maybe a few other projects with him. So he met them, and then so he was telling me about him, but I wasn't like paying attention because I was too focused on the directing and camera stuff.
Yeah.
But I had always kind of continued practice acting with Steve because I had the books. So he'd be like, hey man, I need help with like this monologue, or how should I do the scene? And then we would just go over and we would practice a little bit of the experiential acting, like from Eric Morris and stuff. And then 6 years later, we go to the Chicano Hollywood event, and then I officially meet Alex Alfaro. Yeah. And then I also meet Blanca Espinoza separately in the same event. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is a cool director that I will most likely work with. So that's Blanca. And I'm like, oh, Alex, yeah. He's a poet and he's a writer and all that stuff. That's somebody to have in the back pocket. And then I saw them together. I was like, oh, you guys are actually together. Whoops. Okay, cool. At least now I know it's both in the same stone and all that stuff. And then I had watched them do No Fronts Actors through Instagram. And I was all like telling Steve, I'm like, dude, you should probably join the freaking acting class because we haven't been training in a while. Yeah. And then I had reached out to Alex to look at one of my scripts because I was writing out a treatment and a pilot for a procedural buddy cop television show that I wanted to do. Yeah. So we went over to the original studio that they have that they had where it was behind like the TV, the t-shirt shop and all that stuff. And then I had seen the books that he had, and I was like, what do you know about Eric Morris? And he's like, what do you know about Eric Morris? I'm like, dude, I was trained under Eric Morris's technique by Mark Majarian. And he's all like, you know Marky? He's like, you know Marky? I'm like, yeah, what do you mean?
It's like his mentor, right?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, dude, he's my mentor. This is where I learned acting from. I was like, oh, crap, really? And he's like, okay, well, we're going to have the auditions in September. Show up, you're going to join. And then I had my moments where I was like, I don't know if I should be doing this or not. And then I was literally like outside of the studio just with my monologue, and I'm like, well, it's either I do it or I don't do it. And I like waited till like I had 5 minutes to go in, and then I just went in, and it was kind of intimidating, not gonna lie, going in there and then in front of the camera, and I just did the thing, and then I messed up. Obviously they gave me notes, I adjusted it, and then like a week later I find out I'm in the class. I
have a question for you. Do you have a process to remove the tension and remove the nervousness before you act? Because I'm sure anybody that's ever acted, it's very rare that someone just cold comes in, never's acted before, and is extremely confident, you know. Maybe some sociopath has that that skill, but most people, you know, exactly, they're very confident, you know. Most people that have tension and they have nervousness, which is a killer of creativity, and it'll destroy your acting. If you have any form of tension and you know, that's not part of what you're trying to act, it removes everything. Do you have a process, or what do you normally do to find your flow state?
So funny that you say flow state, because that was like something that I was studying a lot too. Another little thing that you don't know is I've been practicing martial arts for 14 years.
Oh, no way.
Shotokan karate.
Oh, so, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm even one of the like national judges for the United States Karate Federation.
What's the difference in Kyoshin and the one you said?
Kyokushin karate is a lot more, I guess you would say, more elbow strikes, knee strikes, something that you would see a little bit closer to Muay Thai. Yeah. Shotokan is the like blanket overall like stereotypical karate that you would see that isn't Taekwondo, right?
Yeah.
So a lot more traditional. It's way different now that it's been more active as a sport, especially since the 2020 Olympics.
They just came out with Karate Combat, which that's a cool ring.
You know, it's funny like knowing those competitors going from the actual like WKF like world into Karate Combat and stuff, and it's just like, oh
yeah, because I also am in the martial arts world, mixed martial arts world, and you know, I do Muay Thai, but I like to use a lot of you know, those axe kicks at the karate. They come out of nowhere, you can't really block them, you know. So I like a lot of the karate stuff too. You know, a lot of people say like karate is like the worst form of mixed martial. When you're doing MMA, like karate is like, they don't give it the credit that it deserves.
But
exactly. You can take something from any type of art there is and apply it to yourself for what you're trying to do, which is win. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to accomplish something here. And in acting, it's the same thing. It's there's schools. There's schools of acting, like there's schools of martial arts. There's karate, there's Muay Thai, there's judo, there's jiu-jitsu, there's boxing, and they all have certain skills that they teach you to do the exact same thing, beat the fuck out of someone.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And in acting, there's, you know, Meisner, there's you know, Stanislavski, there's this, there's that. And they're all teaching you to do the same thing, which is to be a character and authentically tell that story through that character, right? So it's a process of doing that. And I give respect to any type of martial arts where I feel that I can learn from them, you know? So that's cool.
So with the martial arts experience, I had been like learning to tap into flow state that way. So I realized that it's always with any kind of art, even like with like combat sports and stuff, it's always a battle with oneself before it's a battle with somebody else in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So I was a scrawny kid, like growing up and all that stuff. Still kind of am, but a little bit bulkier now. But a lot of the times it was always me pushing to my limits and just kind of like getting myself there. So every time I would experience kumite and stuff, I had gotten to the point where like the training itself was going to show, because at that point I had a goal.
Bro, when you say kumite, all I think of is freaking Jean-Claude Van Damme. What's that movie?
Bloodsport? No, not Bloodsport. No, is it?
I think it is Bloodsport. Yeah. I love
kumite. Yeah, dude. So like, Oh man, yeah. And it's just like, after 10,000 hours of training and all that stuff, at some point, like your body just does the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you get yourself to the point of relaxation where your consciousness is almost like floating over the thing, like if it's controlling.
Yeah, that's why it's so important for an artist, whether you're a martial artist or an actor, to practice your craft daily. Yeah. Because you're doing these drills for a reason. And everything you do, me particularly, I do Muay Thai, and my coach says this all the time: rhythm is your friend. Yeah. Rhythm is your friend. So you're always going to a beat. You're doing a rhythm. That's part of the flow state is you're in rhythm, right? And you're drilling these things over and over and over again, because when it really matters, when it's action, the bell rings, that's when you're supposed to let go and forget everything. And you're allowing that what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is what the flow state is when you're not thinking. And I remember when I was first taking classes with Alex, he would always say, get out of your head. You're in your head. And he was right. I was worrying about do I look good? What is he thinking? Like, oh, I sound stupid. Like, oh, what was that line? I forgot that line. I'm talking to myself in my mind. I'm in my own thoughts, and it's screwing everything up. And that exact same thing happens, when you're fighting. If you're worried about too many things, oh, is he going to hit me? Is he not? Or what I'm going to do here? Then you're out of the flow state, and the likeliness of you to lose is a lot higher.
100%. And the likeness of like getting hurt too.
Yeah.
So when it came to acting, there was this, and this is like the most recent, like I could even tell you the exact moment. Before we got to play The Last Days of Judas Iscariot, we were running monologues. And like I'm not gonna lie, when you're getting back into acting and you have to try to like let go of everything, it almost feels like a constipation, like emotional constipation.
Yeah.
And then like I was like really looking into the book, and I was like deep diving, because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna fuck myself this time around. Like it's an all or nothing. And so then we started doing a monologue. And I had like, as you would know, you would have your choices and then your choice approaches and such, right? Yeah. So I had my choices and my choice approaches, and like I was just like, I shouldn't even just be doing this in class. I should be doing this everywhere. Yeah. Be at work, and like nobody would be there, and I'd just be like talking, and people, like my coworkers look at me, it's like, dude, you're all right? I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm practicing. Yeah. And it wasn't even the monologue. It was just like doing like, like personal inventory or like imaginary monologues and stuff. And like sometimes I would get a little loud, and then I would be like crying in the middle of nowhere. And then it started getting to the point where it was like tipping off. Yeah. And then when I finally did the presentation for the monologue, and I had like ran through the exercises to prepare the actual monologue, I felt a break. And it was like a real like emotional break where it just like boom, flow. Yeah. And like at that point, like I went from here to here, and I'm like looking, and it's just like if somebody passed me like a PlayStation controller, and it's like, all right, cool, now you're in the zone. Then I started doing the thing. And then after that, we were doing auditions for The Last Days of Judas Iscariot, and I was like, crap, I'm gonna do this is gonna be funny, but I was like this close to doing the audition for Mother Teresa.
Oh, really?
I was so down for it.
You would have been a great Mother Teresa.
Oh, man. I was like, and then I was like, nah, I should just chillax. I'm being a little too boastful of my new abilities that I have found out that I am now not emotionally constipated. So we started doing that, and then they gave me Sigmund Freud, and then I was like reading Sigmund Freud, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should start throwing in an accent. And then so I started practicing the lines, and I would keep on rehearsing the lines, and then I would even call big homie Cassandra, and we would start like reviewing the lines like over the phone, and it was like drilling them, and it was drilling the lines, and I wasn't even focusing on like the emotional stuff about it. So like once I like learned the lines, then the emotions kind of just only came in by itself, and that was only because I knew what I was saying. Yeah. And then once I knew what I was saying, it was just kind of like, well, dude, I know how to operate as a regular human being, so you just do that. And then I was, that was my process, is that I learned the lines first, like all the way through until I like beat it into my head, and then I let my body do its thing. I think I only start getting tense now when I don't know what I'm saying, and I'm just trying to be performative, or the risk of being performative. Then that's when we have a problem. Yeah. Because a lot of the times you might ask some people, like say a lot of out of pocket shit. Right now I'm just being super tame because we're in a podcast. But I say like a lot of
you can let go, bro.
Yeah. Thanks. gonna have the freedom of being like, oh, these motherfuckers. No.
Yeah, you're gonna get canceled like in 2 days.
Nah, I can't
Just
do that. Not yet. At least wait until I have a little bit of a career. But no, like I'm normally just an out of pocket person, and I'm just like super adventurous. But like when it comes to like being very direct,
Alex calls it irreverent.
Yeah,
he says be irreverent. And you know, when you were saying like you're in your work and you're practicing out loud and you're doing this stuff as an actor, as an artist, you have to be okay with you know, expressing yourself and practicing, because you'll see a lot of people like shadow boxing, like in the middle of the grocery store. You know, they don't care.
I still do that.
In their mind, they're fighting someone and they're practicing. They're practicing, you know, combinations, patterns. They're doing work. They're working. And same thing for the actor. Like I do the same thing you do. Sometimes I'll walk and I'll get a different gait based on the character that I'm trying to develop in my head. You know, I'll walk throughout my day in character of whatever character I'm trying to write about.
Yeah,
you know, because it's very important for me to understand this character. What do they like to drink? What is their body temperature like? What do they wear? What would they respond to if someone said that to them? Because then only then can I authentically create dialogue for this character. Because if not, it's just some bullshit story you told yourself about a character you're making up for whatever reason, you know?
Oh man, talking about dialogue and all that stuff. So that even like connects with my writing process. So then so this is how I knew I could kind of like do all this stuff, right? So when it came to writing scripts, I would be in public sometimes, and then I would just think of like a scene, and it's just a random scene between two people, and I'll sometimes even do it out loud, or I'll sometimes even do it with friends, and I'll be like I can't believe you did this to me. It's like, yo, well, you're the one with the small ass dick, and it's just like, whoa, what? And it's just like, and then I'm having this whole back and forth conversation. I'm like, I have a script, and then like I will just like throughout the day, I'll even sometimes record myself where I'm having like back and forth conversations with myself, and people are like, this guy is insane, and in reality, I'm like writing like 4 different characters and like their like tones and all that stuff and all their emotional like journeys, and then I'm just typing it in. I'm like, oh shit. And there's times where like I would like knock out 30 pages of a script just because I like did the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, like I mean, it all came from like obviously relaxing, doing martial arts and breathing and all that stuff, and then the writing, and then the acting, and then directing is a whole different story, to be honest. That's just being, how do you convey your vision to a team of like 50 people and make sure it comes out right. So but definitely for the writing and the acting, it's just straight up just like sometimes I'm just out there just doing it.
There was something you said there that that made me think of something. You said you're breathing. So part of the process of relaxation is to connect to your senses, which is, you know, your smell, your touch, your taste. You see all your 5 senses, you're connecting to them. And through your breathing, you can control a lot of different things. You can make yourself, hyperventilate through your breathing. You can make yourself pass out. You know, if you restrict your breathing, you can make yourself calm. You can lower your heart rate. You can increase your heart rate. You can do a lot of different things strictly through your breath. You know, so in order for you to kind of, for people that don't know, when you said make your choices, can you explain a little bit of what that means?
So in acting, right? Let me see if I could say this without like butchering the idea, but you should get the concept. So in acting, right, one doesn't just like read the lines and just you pop out and just you're the Joker. Like obviously behind each line there's an intention and the way of perceiving what you have in a scene. So the way I like to think about it is that in a scene, let's say if it's a scene between you and I, we both have a goal. Okay. I want a sandwich, you want a pizza. Cool. That's the argument. That's a conflict that gives a story. How I decide to go about convincing you that we should get the sandwich would be, okay, if I choose to, let's say, manipulate you by using, I don't know. Man, I'm doing this off the top of my head. It's kind of hard, especially if I don't have a script and be like, let me choices real quick. I'm going to manipulate you. And it's just like, okay, well, where do I get the experience from manipulation? It's like, I probably had done it once before to another person or to my mom for me to get a sandwich. Right. And so then you just use the available realities and the stimuluses from your life to kind of like tap into something that's going to get you there for that. And then when you string the choices together, right, it starts kind of like if you're to do like an arpeggio of notes, right? You're not just going to be playing like one note
the whole time.
Unless you're, I'm not a perfect person. Right. Obviously, if you're going to do like a whole symphony of stuff, it's just you have these strings of emotions that are natural that we all do, like when we're going through shit.
Yeah. It's a range, and it's
a range, right? So the choices are basically like the notes. I would say it's the notes that take you from beat to beat, music literally from beat to beat of the scene. Yeah, and that's what allows you to create that emotional like.
The story. Yeah, you're telling a story. So the way I look at it is you're making a choice for an emotion you want to feel in order for it to convey in that scene. So if my character needs to be sad because he is dying of cancer, then I have to make a choice. Who in my life have I been sick before where I thought I was dying? How did that make me feel? And I'm gonna bring that back into this character here, or someone else. You have to connect it from your actual life, is what I see it. And the choices are like, what are you thinking about that's making you feel that? And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of actors, especially when they start off, is to be vulnerable and to not judge the character that they're playing and not to judge themselves. Like I even sensed it a little bit when you said, oh, maybe I did that once with my mom. Yeah. I'd be like, I've done that shit a lot. I've been manipulating this. Yeah, exactly. And, we all can see something that we abhorred, but then be like, as an actor, you have to be like, okay, I can see why he did that. Yeah. Once you get to that point where you're like, you have to play a serial killer, you're like, oh my God. You have to be like, you have to be like, yeah, I could be a serial killer. Yeah. If you're going to be a good actor. Yeah, of course. I mean, somebody's going to have to pull it off. Or like, yeah, I could be this. And the thing about it is that the way I look at it is that every character, which means every human being, has a redeeming factor. I'll give you an extreme. Adolf Hitler. Yeah. Horrible human being. I think everybody can attest to that, right? Except for like a few people, but yeah, sure. But there you go. He had his wife, or he wasn't his wife, his girlfriend. He had his dog. His dog probably liked him. Yeah. Maybe the dog like accidentally licked the cyanide off his mouth when he freaking. I mean, if you believe the idea that I'm being extreme. But the point I'm getting is like you have to be okay with feeling those feelings, and in order for them to come off authentic. No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're right. You don't have to judge yourself about it. And it's funny because it's like, I think we've been pre-programmed and conditioned, especially during the era of social media, where we are here presenting ourselves in front of thousands, if not maybe millions of people. Yeah. And we have to perceive ourselves as a specific way. This is why I don't really post on social media, because then I'm just like feeding into the whole fucking dichotomy of fucking social media. It's some bullshit. Yeah. So I don't really post that much, but like I definitely I try being super authentic as I can with myself and everybody else. And it's like, sometimes if I feel like I'm a dick, right? But it's just like, okay, well, I'm okay with it. And then it's like having other people be like, it's like, how could you even be like that? I'm like, dude, I don't know. Have you ever been hungry before? Like, fuck. Like, you can't be mad at somebody for being hungry, right? Yeah. And then doing that and like not judging yourself and the character kind of helps you not judge other people and understand, right? Yeah. Because as you know, doing the acting process and then talking to people, you kind of figure out a little bit more of like what makes them tick. Yeah. So, and then if we're going back to the choices aspect of things, sometimes there's like things that you might have not experienced. A lot of young people have not experienced a lot of things that somebody like us might have, who are a little bit older. Yeah. I can't remember who I was listening to that said, the best actors are the human beings that have experienced all the emotions that a human can experience. Then they can actually portray that in their characters. Yeah. Because you're right. As if you haven't, I say this all the time. If you haven't had your heart broken, you haven't experienced life. Yeah. No. You have to go through your first major heartbreak and maybe a couple of other ones before you kind of understand. If you haven't experienced success, you haven't experienced loss, you haven't experienced all the myriad of emotions that a human being can go through, then it's difficult to find those choices. Like how am I gonna authentically portray a certain feeling that I've never felt in my life? So it's very difficult. Then you're acting.
Yeah.
If you haven't experienced that emotion, then you're acting.
Yeah, and the idea of acting is that you're not supposed to look like you're acting. You're supposed to look like you're living.
Yeah,
living
you're
like
doing.
a person.
And that's interesting because that's the new way of acting.
Yeah.
Ever since Stanislavski and the method came out, it changed how theater and how acting used to be. Before, it was very theatrical, very just say your lines, and use your hands, and I am happy, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, and it's very now it's authentic. But
I think that it has always been authentic, to be honest. I mean, if you're like to check out, like even studying like Udo Hagen and such, just being able to, and Stella Adler, just coming from the imagination, because at some point we were all young, right?
Yeah.
We all made like we all had our own perception of the world at some point before somebody like fucked that up for us. So obviously, like how we said before, different martial arts, different styles, everything works at some point.
Yeah.
Same thing with acting. When you're coming from like an imagination, you're coming from like the time when you were a kid, where obviously even if you didn't have these things, you mimicked a lot of it. But like then mimicking is still experiencing in a sense. Now if you do that and then tapping into actually like going into your being state and looking into your inner emotions, then it's like you do a monologue, obviously, if somebody not there, and you're not really trying to pull my mom or that bitch Becky that cheated on me like 5 years ago. But you could probably put a whole new person, right? Like everything connects together, guys.
Yeah.
Everything connects together. So I wouldn't write it off saying that it hasn't been authentic since, but people have been a little bit more conscientious of trying to not be super performative.
Yeah.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I would say that the people that actually try to study acting and don't just have the money and say, well, mommy put me in front of a camera, so I'm going to look pretty. Yeah. Like the actual people that are like, hey, I'm going to learn how to do acting because, I feel a little fucked up inside and I kind of want people to know that I'm a little fucked up inside, right? Yeah. And then like you have story time, bro. So this was like, this is when you started doing this, the 1x1s.
Yeah.
I started doing auditions for a feature that I was doing. It was a rom-com.
Okay.
I'm still planning on doing it. I just need money. If you guys need to fund my project, please hit me up, DM me, SS4Ricky on Instagram. So we had like a whole bunch of people come in, and it was just crazy, like being on the other side of not being an actor and like doing these auditions. And there's just one person that came and auditioned, and I don't even remember her name because it was so like generically rich, if that makes sense. And so she came in and she was just kind of like performing the lines that I wrote. And I'm like, can you do it a little bit more like this? And she's like, okay. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. And I was just like,
it's just bad acting.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God, I wish I had money. Like I was actually thinking, I'm like, damn, this is it a curse that I'm poor, or is it actually a blessing? Because could I feel? Obviously she didn't get the role. But like then you had other people that were like people from like the class and stuff that were coming in and doing the auditions, and they were just like bringing themselves into it. And I'm like, yes, this is like it threw my whole perspective of like what I wrote. And I'm like, oh my gosh, actually you can do it in this way and it will still fit the story. Like, cause you're so real of a person and you're not just like performing like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I just interviewed Johnny Murillo, the founder of Chicano Hollywood.
Yes.
And he was talking about that, how, specifically like after the pandemic, when, the strike was over and we're trying to do all this stuff, a lot of these film studios started looking at like influencers to come out on films, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, they got 3 million followers, 44 million followers. People are going to come watch these movies, but they just took a giant turd in the middle of the film with their acting,
I would say
it destroyed the film, and it kind of connects to why you're here, why I'm doing what I'm doing, why you're doing what you're doing, connects to Chicano Hollywood in the sense where, I'm Chicano, I'm Mexican American. I was born here in LA, but my family is from Mexico. So I'm first generation. So I understand my people. I understand the Mexican side and the Mexican American side, and I grew up in the hood, and I know the Chicano culture, and I know raza, right? Yeah. And like you were saying, when you went to film school, you felt like people were being pretentious, you know? And in Hollywood, these major studios, I don't think they do it on purpose, but they have those same type of vibes, you know,
100%.
When it comes to people of a minority or that are different, when they want to share their stories. You know, and unfortunately, like you said, I wish I was rich.
Yeah,
you need funds in order to make a project the size of a featured film that's going to be shared to the world. You need funds, you know, a lot of money. And our stories have been kind of restricted in a lot of ways, where we can't authentically share our stories. And I can't remember who said it, but they said, if you're going to tell the story of your life, who's better to say it than you, right? You know? And I had been seeing a lot about like Latinx, and I was like, what the hell's Latinx? Like, I don't even know what that is. My parents don't know what that is. And when I started yeah, me either. And when I started to like watch films and stuff that these kind of organizations and community was putting, I was like, this is not our stories. This is not authentic. This is not what represents us. And I don't like it. Yeah. You know, I want us to have our art shared to the world, our story shared to the world. Like I said, if you've never been to a place, you're not going to understand these people. I want us to be heard, seen, understood through our art form, our music, our medicine, our philosophy. Yeah. Because what a film is exactly that. It's art in motion through sound, imagery, and storytelling. You know, so that is what you're doing in your own right, and that's what I'm doing, and that's what the movement of Chicano Hollywood is, to bring us to the limelight. And like they say, it's a Chicano renaissance, and I so happen to be a Renaissance man and a Chicano.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, it just helps. I think that the only thing that ends up being a little scary and a little tiptoey is that we have to not risk sacrificing our individuality.
Right.
Yes, we have been having a slow uprise of Latino projects, Chicano projects. I would even say, like, shoot, we got Blue Beetle, right? But then, like, you look at Blue Beetle and then you, like, understand that they're still doing, like, a little bit of tropes to cater to the people that are not obviously us. For example, and this is, like, the pet peeve that I have when it comes to us specifically as Latinos in entertainment. It's like, oh my gosh, pásame la agua, the water, I need it, please. It's like, dude, we don't do Spanglish like that, bro. Yeah. Like, that's just not how that works.
They overdid the Spanglish on there for sure.
It's like, oh my God, la tortilla, the corn tortilla. Oh my gosh, it's going to burn itself. And it's just like, no, that's not how we talk. As a matter of fact, it's all like, you know, ya sabes que, you know, it's a big deal and all this other stuff, pero este pendejada aquí que está, whatever, right? And it's just like, it just flows like that. And I have not seen like one thing that's like that. And I'm like, bro, why is it so hard to fucking break this shit down?
Yeah.
And I think we accidentally do that to cater to the audience that, like, obviously is the predominant of who takes in the entertainment, which, I mean, you could talk to anybody, the numbers are shifting at some way, shape, or form. But other than that, like, I feel like if we kind of like try to be more authentic too. And then the other thing is that, like, we also don't want to fall into tropes and like categories as well. 'Cause we have, for example, we have first generation Latinos born in the hood. They have the hood life, right? Yeah. You have first generation Latinos who grew up in Orange County and, like,
it's a different
vibe. And then you have just the ones where the parents were just like, they had all the struggles of like coming over, doing all this stuff, being first generation, but then it's just like none of that was like around you of either the No Sabo side or the like hood side. So you're just kind of the guy in the middle. Yeah. And I feel like I'm like the guy in the middle a lot of the times. And I feel like I get forgotten. I'm just like, well, I don't like, I don't wear Jordans, guys. Or like, I know how to speak Spanish. Like, it's a whole bunch of other things. So yeah, it's just, we got to make sure that we're all together. For sure. And it's just, I think the other thing that makes that a little bit hard, to be honest, is just the generational like structures that we've dealt with, especially with like the colonization of having like the different caste systems that we've been through is kind of what hasn't completely unified us quite yet.
Yeah. I mean, through time, we will evolve.
No, 100%.
And all we're trying to do is be better than the last generation, right?
Yeah.
And to grow. So it's been a long time coming, you know. Before there was no Latino movies, you know. Now there's a shitload, you know. I remember growing up watching like Blood In, Blood Out and, you know, all these different Latino movies. There hasn't been any like epic one in a while,
right,
which is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah,
epic
no,
ass shit.
Yeah, unless you like grew up like at home and you're like watching Cantinflas and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, you have obviously, or like when Vicente was doing movies at some point.
Yeah. You know, it's evolving. It's evolving. And through time, you know, we fix a lot of the issues that have been kind of preventing us from accomplishing what we want to accomplish. And I think there's power in movements, and there's power in numbers. And when we support each other, that is the most important thing, you know? So when you see someone that's like you want to help them, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's what Chicano Hollywood is. It's a platform to help any type of artist that's, you know, connects to the Chicano culture or sees themselves as, you know, Latino or raza or, you know, and wants to share their art. It's a movement where we can support you now, you know, and we can help you. So for example, someone that might not have the same opportunities can now be connected to someone that that has done the things that you want to do. So the whole reason why I decided to make a film was because of Chicano Hollywood. I interviewed Johnny Murillo, and then I interviewed Jeff Reyes, which is a cinematographer. Then I interviewed Chris Leva, which is a director. And I was just curious. I just wanted to know why they did what they did and find out a little bit more about it. And at the time, I had a videography business. I was shooting like, you know, small stuff like quinces and weddings and like little commercials and music videos, but nothing on a big scale. I was a videographer, which is a one-man stop shop. I'm the lighting guy, I'm the camera guy, I'm the editor, I'm the sound engineer, I'm the director and producer, right? It's just me. And it's like you have like playing like 20 different instruments. It looks funny.
Yeah. So like, hold on, give me a second. I need to do this for the edit.
Yeah, exactly. I have like 3 different, one on the tripod, me over here. Like it was a whole thing. And I was just curious in finding out, you know, how they do what they do. And Jeff invited me to like a legit production where they had like a 40-person team, you know, that like 3 different camera operators with like legit, you know, cinema cameras, and they had, must have been like a freaking $40,000 budget for this music video, and it was a major group. And I was like, holy shit, I can do this. Like I already do this, but I don't have that guy helping me do this. I don't have this equipment. I was like, well, how do I do? Like, do I rent the equipment and then I charge back the client? And I was like asking all these different people questions. And then I went to the first Elevate conference, and I started to talk to these people that have done the things that I wanted to do. I was like, it's possible. You know, it's possible. I can do this. And I think that's very, very important for people to have that feeling of like, oh, this is possible. Because when something seems impossible, you're not even going to try.
Right.
You're like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to try that shit. But if you feel some hope, like, wow, I could make this. I can do something like this. Maybe not at that scale, but little by little, eventually I'm going to get there. And eventually I want to be the best. Yeah. That competitive nature is what made me want to pursue this, you know? That was my calling. Like I heard it, I was like, I'm going to take this shit. I'm going to see how far I can go with this thing. I want this to be my third act. I want this to be what I do. Because it was a long time coming, you know. And for you, you're doing it, brother. You've written films. You're a screenwriter. You've directed. You sent me some of your stuff. It's great work, brother.
Thank you.
And you're just getting started. So right now you're going to be doing the 48-hour film festival, correct?
Yes.
And that's in a week.
Yeah, that's next Friday. Next Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So tell me, what is your long-term goals as a filmmaker? And then tell me a little bit about the 48 project.
So my long-term goal as a filmmaker is to just bust the door open. So that way we all could go through. That is the goal. So just a lot of sacrifices, talking to the right people, all this other stuff. I want us to have the ability to just come in droves as actors, directors, costumers, everything above the line, below the line in production to be a little bit more dominant. I was looking at an article saying that there's only 12% of Latino representation in media.
Yeah.
Right now with the strikes and everything else going on, like this is like the perfect time for us to kind of just flip the table a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be able to do that. I don't really care for the recognition or the accolades per se. I care about that I am happy doing projects, and I'm happy doing projects at probably the biggest scale possible. I mean, shoot, if I end up doing like a Marvel film and all this stuff with a whole bunch of like Latino people, we're solid. And people would be like, "Oh my God, you're the greatest." I'm like, no.
The
Everybody
Blue
else
Beetle too.
Yeah. Not that. Well, I mean, you saw my script for Spider-Man 2099, so there's that.
Cool.
And just have that ability, because isn't it crazy that the Oscars modeled off of a Mexican man, like, and everybody that wins that freaking award is just holding one of us, and we're like not even holding one of us. It's all like, dude, what the fuck are we doing?
Crazy. I didn't even think about that. That's true.
Yeah, I'm like, we should be up there. That's freaking, that's raza right there. They're holding, and we can't even hold our own selves. Yeah, that's bullshit. Funny. Yeah, and just be able to do that, and then have a lot of like-minded people that'll go ahead and help keep the door open. Because I want this to be a thing. We should be doing this. Like, we should have been doing this a long time ago. But shit happens. But now is the time. I think everything is just in alignment for it to happen, and I'm trying to take advantage of it. And I'm trying to like teach myself and looking for guidance on what I could do to expand on the filmmaking, bring people along with me.
Yeah.
So now coming to the 48-hour film festival, I had done it once last year, and that was kind of a pain in the ass, but it was fun. This time around, now that I went through the whole No Fronts actors, and I've made friends with obviously actors, and then also with Bernice Molina Valle of URA.
You got to do some of your martial arts on this fly that's walking around here, bro. Do some Kyoshin.
Right. And just like seeing that there's now a whole bunch of us that we could work on a project. And for me, my whole intention was that we do the 48-hour film festival, and it's not only all the actors being in front of the camera, but also have the ability of being behind the camera. And I don't know if you got to look at it, but I posted a little video on how to be a production assistant on set. Oh
yeah, I saw it. I haven't watched it. But
yeah, dude, it's like an hour of just like
an hour
me teaching you set etiquette. But it's just
I need
me
to know that, because I've never been on set of a film, and I'm very, very curious on that whole process.
That's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Trust me. So yeah, I was just teaching that, and it's just because, and I had talked to Bernice about it, and I was like, hey, even if some of them aren't actors, what I really want to happen is that maybe they learn how to be PAs, and being PAs, and then they find, producers find out, it's like, oh, well, we need somebody to do background or be an actor. It happened to me a few times.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I could act, and then I could also do this. And it's like, cool. And the only reason why they did that is because they took the stepping stone of being as a production assistant. Yeah. Because not everybody could be an actor, right?
Yeah.
So that's that one goal. The second thing is, because of the progression of like how this film festival works, is that we're competing against 60-something teams in LA.
Yeah.
For a 7-minute film done in 2 days.
Dang.
So we get the votes, we do that, we become the best of LA. After becoming the best of LA, we're going against the world. And after we, make it top whatever, I don't know. I don't even know what the top whatever it is. We have a chance of going to Filmpalooza. And Filmpalooza, there's a lot of like obviously panelists from other film festivals, such as like Tribeca or South by Southwest or Sundance, right?
Yeah.
Cannes and all that.
Hell yeah.
We need to have that exposure as the unit of us. We're a Latino team. Yeah, we have a little bit of everybody else sprinkled into it, but like more predominantly Latino team coming in out to the world and be like, yo, we're coming here to we're gonna see our faces, please.
Yeah, we're here to make a splash.
Yeah, of course. A little bit more of a splash, and then just put a little bit of tequila on everybody's
there you go
thing, and just that way, hey, vote for us. Like, this is us. This is what we could do. This is what you want.
So it's on the second, third, and fourth, right? So I am part of the team. I just signed in, so I'm happy to be of service. Like I told you, I'd love to be part of the writing process. If you need a 30-some-year-old bearded character, I'm happy to be an actor as well.
Dude, I'm telling you, like, I'll just even say this out here. I don't care. If we get the genre that I want, I have you and one other person in mind, and it's going to straight up be an MMA film.
Oh, hell yeah, bro.
And if we don't even get that, I still want to do that MMA film after the 48.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm down,
dude,
bro.
like a whole, like, oh, man, you haven't. Because I've always wanted to do the choreography afterwards. But yeah, so we'll do that. But yeah, definitely having you on the team. That way you could also learn a lot of like hands-on production stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because I do have friends that had do work in the industry as well and have experience that you could just kind of like learn how to do all the hats. I wouldn't say properly, but like you'd be able to see like the different avenues on how we go about it.
Yeah. I catch on quick.
Yeah.
So I love learning. I am infinitely curious, and I am a student of life. I'm a really good student. Like I listen and I fucking learn.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing ever since I was a little kid. You just teach me once. I'm like, oh, okay.
You know, it's crazy.
And I run with it.
Yeah. We end up being the scariest people in the world because there's people that like work hard. That's like, dude, I've been trying to like learn this for like 10 days and you did this in one. And it's like, yeah. I can't fuck with you. I'm like, what do you mean you can't fuck with me? I'm just learning. And
it's all like, good, man. Yeah, whatever is for you will be yours.
Yeah, of course.
You know, what's not, it's not. Don't stress it, man. Yeah. But I really want to thank you, brother, for coming on the show, sharing your story, your art. We're going to be working together, so you're more than welcome to come back on the show at any time
of course.
To share some of the other projects we're working on.
Definitely a post 48 probably interview would help.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's do that, brother. Yeah. I'll promote all your stuff. Guys, make sure to follow my brother on Instagram. What's your IG handle?
So I have two. So I have this is my personal / I fuck around account, SS4 Ricky on Instagram, or at La Mansa Mirada Film. That will be where I'm going to be posting most of my filmmaking stuff onward. So go ahead, check that out as it progresses, and hopefully we work together soon.
Yes, and any investors out there that want to help out a filmmaker to share some art, reach out to Ricky. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Silo Talk Podcast YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cause I do